welcome to Flory Models Kit Review time. Today we've got Revell's brand new tooled Shackleton in 1/72 scale. Now Airfix, obviously they brought out the earlier version of this that doesn't have the bulbous underneath, and to be honest the kit was mediocre, okay? I don't know, it just seemed to lack certain details and I was expecting a little bit more if I'm honest. Then at Telford last year, at Scale Model World, we happened to come across this one built up on a very nice rotary display on the Revell stand, and immediately the surface detail jumped out and looked stunning. So I immediately made the decision that I'm not going to build the Airfix one, I will do this one at some point. So with eagerness, we've been waiting for this kit to come along, and after a little bit of a wait, they suddenly landed on us literally last week. They went out of stock on the first run of them extremely quickly, but I've noticed now they're starting to filter back in stock again everywhere else, so we grabbed a few whilst we could. So actually what we got is some beautiful box art, as you can see on the front with the Shackleton. It's lovely in the grey. There isn't many aircraft that I don't think look very good in grey. This is definitely one of them. The thing is with it, as we all know, they call this thing the flying rivets, or a million rivets flying in close formation. It is covered in surface detail. So as I said, with the grey and with the wash, it should really highlight it. Now technically the riveting detail's raised, this is going to be recessed, blah-de-da, we all know, but you know, it's for scale effect as we call it. It's also in Revell's brand new boxing, and to be honest, it's the first kit that I've actually reviewed in this new style, which is really nice to see as we make our way down. You can also see here they've got quite clearly the size of this thing. As you can see, it's 50 centimeters by 37 centimeters. It is big. We're thinking Lancaster, okay? So as you might imagine, there's a lot of similarities between the two, and as you look at it, obviously with the twin tails like this, 4 engines, but these are contra-rotating props and obviously a brand new type. Looking around on the box, you can see it's their new styling, so there isn't much on it, not like the other ones, and there we go. So your kit number down there is 04920, okay? It's in level 5, okay? And on the back, as we can see here, we got some more great pictures, and obviously a very nice one. It's nice to see the aircraft, instead of it being CAD work and stuff like that. I do like the old school way of showing you exactly what you get. That way you can have a good look at it and think, okay, yeah, I can see we've got some detail there, and you can work out certain things, i.e. is it recessed, raised, is it an old tool, is it new, you know, and various things. But you can also see, you know, if there's any little problems and things like that that as a builder you might get. Got your colour call outs down here as well, and everything else, the usual way of doing it. All right, now I honestly have not looked at these. To be honest, we've had what, 15 through here over the last week, and I haven't looked at a single one. So when I am opening it, honestly, it is genuine. I haven't been in here whatsoever. The only thing is, I still don't like these boxes. They are a horrible way of doing it, you know, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. All right, so we have different bags. They're thinner bags than what we're used to, okay? Again, I don't like the way the clear parts are thrown in like this. Alrighty, so in here we have a bit of bump and all the rest of it. Let's have that out of the way. So this is their new style manuals, okay? Again, nice having the actual model down here. It's very sort of reminiscent of the 70s, 80s way that they used to be done, alright? So looking through, as we can see, we've got all this new beautiful colour thing instead of their horrible old way of doing it, alright? And then going through, so we've got the colour call outs, which admittedly are still that very horrible way of doing it when it talks about, you know, the actual Revell colours and making mixes up and all the rest of it. A little bit of research, you should be able to come out with it quite nicely. Got the sprue call out down here, obviously your multiple languages. Things about spare parts, which is quite nice because actually it's got the UK address, and then obviously you've got the German address and the Spanish and the French and all the rest of it addresses down there. Okay, and then we're moving into the build. So again, it's nice to see we've got nice, clean, crisp instructions instead of the horrible, cheap recycled paper as it seemed to be before with blurry instructions. So straight into the cockpit area, looking like on there, we've got the bulkheads going in, some nice detail on the seats being installed, control yokes, things like that. Okay, and then we've got the other parts of the cabin for the other crew, for the warfare officers, obviously they're going in, and some details being put in there. We've got the underside of the weapons bay, as you can see it down here, that's down on there, and we've got a nice big beefy wing spar, which is quite a nice touch. It's going to give this model some great strength and obviously help with alignment. Okay, underside of the bomb bay, I've seen the photos underneath there, it looks really, really nice. Opening up your holes, Now, this is one thing which obviously I haven't seen. Again, this is totally new to me, so we're looking. But it looks like we've got a different front end to rear end on this. So we imagine there might be other versions of this could come out, you know, at some point. Now, to be honest, I was speaking about somebody in the know about this, and I was saying about why is it sometimes you have a different front on there and you never get that other kit. They're basically future-proofing themselves that at some point they could do it. It's not necessarily to say there is another version of this coming out, but, you know, in all likelihood, there could be one in the future. So look out for things like that. Glass work going in from the inside. We'll have a look, see how clear that is. Smaller windows, but obviously we have got some bigger ones as well and different parts in there. Okay, and then we've got obviously things like the doors going in. Looks like we can have open or closed, which is quite a nice touch. We've got the tail wheel system going in there. I think that's countermeasures at the rear. And then we've got the forward part of the actual fuselage set. So we've got the pilot's area, you know, with the co-pilot and various things in there going in like that. And then basically a mirror on the other side. That being installed in, okay, and then you've got the bomb bay going in, and this should give it nice strength all the way through, which is quite a nice touch. Then we've got the rear quarter down the back here, okay, for the rest of the crew. Two halves going in together. Again, looks like we've got lots of glass and various bits and pieces going to go in here. It'll be interesting to see how well these fit and go in. We're hoping for great things. Something I did notice on the pre-production one, I think, that was actually at the show, did have nice positionable working control surfaces. So it looks like we've got obviously working rudders, ailerons, tailplanes, things like that down on there. And then right the way through elevators, that's the one I'm thinking of. Okay, in putting all of those in. This huge section underneath, which is the big radar set going down here underneath. Okay, and you've got the ailerons being put together. And then the wing sections going on there. We have lights that are going to fit probably under here. Various things, making sure you get these clear parts all put in. All right, wing spars going into some very nice grooves, as you can see it just down in there. Again, it's a very nice touch. And then we're working on these engines, so it looks like we can have open or closed type of cool flaps or cow flaps down onto there, so it's quite a nice touch. Okay, putting these in, obviously this is the wheel well section as well for the inner engines, so we got those going in, very reminiscent of doing Lancasters and Halifaxes and things like that. Alright, so that's all that system going in there. Alright, exactly the same on the other side, and then we got the gear set going in there, the various bits and pieces, the tail wheel, the rear quarter section, and all those areas going in there just like that. Taking your time about getting those alignments all correct, or you can do it gear up right the way through. This front one here doesn't have the gun set like they used to. I think the early one has the twin guns at the front. This one then doesn't. They've been removed on this version. The bomb bay or the weapon bay areas down in there. Okay, fitting those in, obviously with the beams of various things coming out. And then you obviously got the flaps downward position, exhaust pipes going on, the glass and the various aerials on the front, which looks like that one's about an accident waiting to happen. Okay, and then for the rear with the sensor buoys and things like that going down there, pitot tubes, then the props. Now, as I said, it's a counter rotating props on this, so just make sure you get those correct. I'm sure they're going to be given some alignment issues to make sure they go in the right way, but you obviously want one going one way, one going the other. Okay, so you're going to make 4 sets of those, and those being fitted on, and then that's it. So it is down going in there. Okay, so this is one of the Lossymouth squadrons. It's lovely with this red markings on there and everything else like that. Okay, down on there. And another Lossy one down on there. Okay, and round the back. Again, very nice. We've got nice clear indications of where these decals all go. Again, it was one of my bugbears with their other instructions because they were such a mess. You couldn't work it out. Right, decals themselves. You know what? This is the second kit I've had. The protective sheet on the back. And it's like, well, shouldn't it be that way round? Just one of those annoying things, but it's brand new from the factory and they've done it as well. It's supposed to protect the sheet on the front. Okay, there we go. There is our decals. Now, Revell traditionally tend to be very flat these days, and these seem to be, again, I don't know how well the top cam or close cam you might be able to see, catch it in the light. This looks like it's going to be a very flat section. To me, I'd rather have them slightly glossy. I'm going to flatten the aircraft anyway, so why give me flat decals which are going to give me more trouble with silvering? Because they're flat and they have more texture, you've got more likely of silvering with them. I'd rather have them thinner, okay, and go through. That said though, these walkway ones are really nice on this. They're quite thick, you can feel them like braille job here. I could read this, But I have to say they have very, very little carrier film, which is nice because obviously silvering and things like that. You could spray them in. I don't think many of us will, but you could do, okay? One thing that is very nice though, and I have to say is a vast improvement, over here we've got the instrument panel, okay, and the harnesses. That is actually really nicely printed. Absolutely love that. That's probably the best decal printing we've seen from Revell like that in a long time. But generally, they're all definitely in register. It looks like we have no problem. Minimal carrier film, so we're happy with those. They are all very, very nice. Okay, and they're all in perfect alignment. Okay, where do we start? Let's find a big bag, these big bits first. Okay, so again, these are obviously, I take it, some type of eco bag. They feel like they're eco bags, which means they'll dissolve and everything else, so we shouldn't have a problem. Okay, look at the detail. Right, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's have a look at the fuselage, then we'll look at the wings. Okay, so straight off of the bat, the thing that jumps out and grabs you is all of this riveting detail. Now, I don't know exactly which camera is going to be best for this and which one's going to show it. As I said, we do struggle here because we've got too good a lighting. I know it sounds silly, but we don't get shadows. Okay, let me if we have a look at it overall, and then we'll zoom in and we'll get some close-ups. But generally, the riveting detail on this is absolutely exquisite. It should be as it is. Now, okay, the hardliners out there are going to say they should be raised details. This is scale modelling. At the end of the day, it's easier to do them recessed. From a working point of view, manufacturing, it's probably easier to do them raised because you're just drilling holes, aren't you? I don't know. But anyway, the thing is, they are beautifully done. It will take a wash fantastic. You could even, because they're so pronounced on this type of aircraft, I'd be inclined to give it a black wash to make them really stand out because they are very, very noticeable on the real thing. So, you know, you could even go in that way and really show this thing off to potential. The big thing is, though, is how fine and how detailed all of this riveting really is. It's probably the best I have seen on a Revell kit. And don't forget, traditionally, Revell don't do riveting. Classic example, we're going to be doing their 190 soon, 32nd scale. It's hardly got any. This is 72nd and it's absolutely freaking covered in it. Okay, but it is the big thing about the aircraft, and they've obviously taken that on board and gone with it. And it is absolutely beautiful. The detail is stunning. The hatches, all the different areas, the parts on it are all absolutely exquisite. Again, the ejector pins, it seems to be a step up in their kits. Now, I know this is sprue 1, but the ejector pins look to be a lot more shallow than they used to be. Okay, but we have got some nice touches. So we've got texture down here. We catch it in the light for some of the areas where you're going to see, because obviously this is opposite to the door. So if you've got the door open, you're going to see the detail from the ribbing on the inside. It's only showing where the door is, but I think that's fair enough. Okay, but generally all the ejector pins, although it has got them, they are a lot more shallow and sharper than they used to be. We've got no real sign of flash anywhere. The gates themselves, whilst they look quite big, you know, we're talking these here where the gates actually join them, they are tapered. So they're like a blade fit. So it's easier to remove. Instead of having a large chunk, you know, like the old way of having here going in, these actually go into a blade. So they'll be easier to remove, especially my way because I use a pair of scissors. But getting your sprue cutters in here, generally, you can go right up to the part and cut it and you'll have no damage. Okay, I do like that. That is absolutely exquisite. We can probably just drop down a camera if we can get it. Do you know what, this thing was working earlier? Come on, give me something. Sorry, I've got trouble with one of my gizzes here. There we go. Literally, I think that's as good as we're going to get. But there we go. This is that detail we are talking about. And as you can see, looking around this, catching it in the light if we can, it is absolutely exquisite. Beautifully done. Very nice on all of that, you know. And it's just giving us everything we could ever want in a Shackleton. Because trust me, I don't want to do the recess riveting way. I would rather do the recess riveting way, I should say, than the raised. So down here on the wings, immediately, there we go. Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. It is beautifully detailed. Some very nice jobs on this. Again, everything seems nice. The plastic has got a texture to it, but this thing is going to be a flat, weathered type of thing, so I'm not worried about it. If you want to do it in a metal finish, you might have to sand this first to get a better finish on this one. Generally moving over here, we turn it around this way. Okay, you can see we've got the instrument panel. Quite a nice touch on this. Some very nice details down there on that. And then obviously down here we've got the floor sets and everything else. This is that section that's going to be running across the top. And then down on here we've got the inside, which is beautifully done, of the flaps. Okay, and we've got no ejector pins in those areas. We've got a little bit of detail down here on this well for the top of the actual wheel well with the structural stuff in it. Again, nothing too bad. The ejector pins are all very nicely out of the way. And again, we don't seem to have much flash. We have got tiny bits of it, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is totally free. My finger down the bottom of the screen is pointing to it. I've got a little tiny bit down there. But in the great scheme of, you know, Revell, it's nothing compared to what we're used to. Okay, so that really is very nice. Now, the bottom of the wings, as we can see it down here, beautifully done. That detail is absolutely stunning. Really, really nice. And again, it's all in register, it's all cleanly done, it's right up to the edges. The panel lines are good, solid ones all the way through. A little bit of flash you might be able to see down here. These are going to need to be opened up, these holes. We'll flip it over in a moment, but that's what that is. So we've got a little bit just down in there. The engine sets and things like that, again, as you can see, they are very nicely done. It's very complex shape on these, the way that they sort of bow in and bow out and all the rest of it. But again, really nice. Tiny little bit of flash, if we're honest, on this sprue here. So we've got some bits in there. Okay, but generally everything else. The control yokes and things like that, it's not the sharpest moulding, if you like, on all of these down here, but actually I don't think it's too bad at all. This is that aerial that goes on the top of the spine as it works its way through. Again, no problem whatsoever. And then looking up, you can see here, this is where we've got a little bit of flash in these holes both sides, but that's not a problem. Okay, generally very, very nice. Nice touch as well. We've got this, this is the flaps. Again, we don't have any ejector pins in it whatsoever. So it's nice to see that Revell now have taken on that thing of ejector pin placement to looking where they can get away with it and where they can't, and just to make the life of the modeler just that little bit easier. So next up we have okay, so this is the front end of the fuselage. Okay, again, clean, crisp, no problem at all. Maybe a little bit flashy just around the cockpit edge. It might be a little bit of test fitting is required around here. It does have a very fine seam, I don't know if you can see it, on this edge. Catch it just there, my finger's pointing. That's obviously where the glasswork's going to go up to. It'd be interesting to see how good a fit that is. Okay, we've got a little bit of flash just around the nose here, but again, nothing that couldn't be cleaned up. So generally, very nicely done with that. This is lovely. We've got the actual bomb bay itself. Again, no ejector pins in there whatsoever, so it's very nicely done, because obviously it's on the top side. Alright, so we don't have to worry about that. A little bit of flash just down here on these bays, but generally everything else very clean, crisp. And we got down here, these are the activators for the actual weapons bay as well, and some aerials, no problem with those. Little bit of burring on them that needs a little bit of cleanup. Down here for the insides of the cockpit, we've got nothing going on in there whatsoever. Okay, a little bit of structural detail down up there in the tail wheel. The bulkheads are very nicely done and represented all the way through as we look at it like that. We've got a little bit of ejector pin flashing here, so it's interesting where it doesn't matter, but actually you would, because you've got to put a piece over that. They're going to go, oh, so you're going to have to clean that out, and that's technically the first pain bit I'd seen, but we are talking a swipe with a knife. I'm just being uber critical on this kit now. Lovely Bombay doors. So we've got some nice structural detail on these Bombay doors. This is an absolute joy. This is your radar set that goes on the chin. Okay, two halves obviously, as you'd imagine, to be going together. They look very nicely done indeed. And again, very nice to see we do not have any ejector pin marks inside the Bombays, because they've put extra ones on the sides to get around the problem. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is enough to get that out of the mould without having to put some more in here, which obviously then as modelers we'd have to remove. Okay, so I have to say that is very, very nicely done. Okay, last bag. So down here we've got some of the smaller points. We have got some dupes, so we won't look at that one. So down here we've got the wheels. So we've got some nice deep tread on the wheels. They're not flat spotted, so obviously you're going to have to put some flat spots in there. But as you can see, to be honest, we've got a little bit more heavy work, I would say, catching it in the light, on these engines. It seems to be stronger than it is elsewhere on the model, and deeper, which is a little bit of a shame, because obviously you'd hope it would all be universally the same everywhere. But even if you look at this one down here, You can see it, we got some riveting, very nice done here, but these are a lot deeper, so a little bit disappointing there. We got the gear, obviously this is a structural work, the various things, no problem. These really don't have much burring either, which is quite a nice touch. And the gear itself, as you can see it running down there. But that's quite a nice touch. We have got some very nice strong details down here on the insides. For the wheel wells themselves, that's nicely done. And we do have no ejector pins. I don't think that one is an ejector pin. That's obviously a actual something that should be there. Okay, but we do have some very nice insides of the Bombay doors. Great work on that. Okay, last proper sprue. We got the props, so you do get lots of them, so you are going to get loads of props because say it's counter rotating. Okay, so that's just a duplicate sprue. So we've got, this is the radiators on the back side, obviously the intakes down there for the engine, the spinners and the various parts for them, obviously the flaps open shut. The props themselves don't look too bad at all. We've got no sink marks by the looks of it on them. Actually, they're very nicely done, those props, no problem with that at all. The seat, basic, but it's 72nd scale. The exhausts, okay, they need to be opened up at the end really to make them better, but that's the only thing that I could see a problem with that. That is really nice indeed. Okay, last up we have the clear parts. Okay, so clear part 1, do our usual check. Okay, you got a little bit of graininess in there, but we are 72nd. What I do like about it, if I'm honest, this framing is dead sharp. It is absolutely crystal sharp. The thing that would be great for that is masking it up. Obviously there's going to be masking sets, which could be a nice option on this one, but if you did want to cover over, cut in and do it all like that, this would lend itself really, really well because they are very nice, sharp, crisp lines to follow the blade around and everything else like that. They're not the clearest of clear. Checking that actually that's not release oil on there, which I don't think it is, but in its scale I think it's quite fine. Okay, as I say, it has the look like it's got release agent, which it has. That's release agent. You know, it may be that these could be worth having a wash, good clean rinse out and everything else like that before you get going, but generally they're all absolutely fine, no problem with that whatsoever. So there we go. We've been waiting for a Shackleton forever. There's been one option and I can't remember its name, and I have built it and it was horrible because it's raised details, and as soon as you come near it with a sanding stick, and let's face it, it was a massive filler sander job and all the rest of it, you know, that was it. It wasn't nice. Now we've been honoured really to get two at once. So if you want to do the slightly earlier version, then obviously you've got the Airfix one, you can jump down that route, or now you've got, which is my personal favourite and why I held out for this one, we've got this guy being the AEW.2 version with the nice radar on the front. It's a later version, tends to be in the greys and the various things like that, and I think it's absolutely fine, but definitely a build I'm going to be tackling later on this year. I'm itching to get started on this one, and I have to say I think it's Revell's best kit to date. Easily the level of detail with the riveting has taken them now very much up. It's like all the kit manufacturers are really stepping it up now. There's good competition out there from obviously the Chinese ones, and now they're really stepping up their game, and it's paying off for us the modelers, because now we're getting great kits, beautiful detail and everything else like that. So I'll do a bit of a follow-up on this one when we got it together, and I'll add it to this review at this time though, but at the moment this is just like looking through the box, but afterwards I'll do a full one as well again once I've built it. So there we go, that is Revell's 1/72 brand new tool Shackleton AEW.2.